The craft I'm going to show you today is how to actually solve a problem. I don't know if other people have had, but I've had the problem with. I have a lot of antique furniture, and what I discovered, I love these cute placemats, but using the finish, they actually stuck to the table over time and peeled up the finish. So I've just recently refinished this piece of furniture because it had this all over it. And I really wanted to keep my cute placemat, so I decided that if I cover the back with some material, that would prevent them from sticking, but that I could still use them. So the end result will be your plastic placemat, but having a back on it so that they won't stick and ruin your tables. So I had originally thought of using felt. The advantage of using felt is felt does not fray. When you cut it, it doesn't fray on the edges like regular cloth fabric will. However, when I went there, I realized that my fabric store had a limited supply. So I decided to go with flannel, which gives it the same feel as felt, but it's thinner, which I also thought would look better on the table so it wouldn't be so thick underneath. And for my cupcakes, I thought it'd be cute to have a pattern underneath. And then the pumpkins, I did just a bright orange. And then those that are more of a clear or a white, I didn't want to do a dark color because I thought it would change the appearance of the mat, so I decided to use white. So for all of these, it depends on the size and the shape of your placemat, but for 4 to 6 mats, it took anywhere from 1 yard to 2 yards of fabric. So the first thing you want to do is trace out your pattern. So all you basically need is a pair of fabric scissors and a pen. And I always like to trace on the side of the fabric so that when you glue it, the pen is actually on the back so that you don't really see it. However, what I did discover when I traced it out is I cut on the inside of the line, because when you glue it down and spread it out, your fabric tends to spread a little bit. So even if you did it the opposite, you're not going to see your pen marks. But just beware that your pattern, if you do a solid pattern, it doesn't matter either way you glue it down, it's going to work. But a pattern, you have to be careful that when you mark your fabric, for example, this is my cupcake. When I put my cupcake down, I had to put it pattern side up, because if I did it this way, when you cut it out, it would end up, the polka dots would end up on this side, so you wouldn't be able to use it. So just be very careful that when you're working with patterns, that the pattern side here is down, but then my pattern on my placemat is up, so that when I cut it out, your pattern is on the right side. Second thing you want to be aware of to best use your material is I always spread my material out on the floor and put all my placemats down, because you can, you could put your placemat this way, but then you have a lot of wasted space. So by putting all your placemats down ahead of time before you even trace, you'll be able to utilize your fabric the best and have the least amount of waste. So basically all you do is put your placemat down, and then I just took just a regular pen and traced it out with my pen. Like so. And then I took my fabric scissors, and the easiest way to do it is find a flat surface so that when you're cutting, it's easier to cut and maneuver if you're on a flat surface. And like I said, I cut on the inside of the line, so that way, especially around sharp corners, you want to cut a little less fabric, because then once you glue it down, if you have any fabric that sticks out, you can take your scissors and cut, but it's often a lot of times hard to cut those corners. So you want to make sure that your fabric isn't overlapping in those areas, because it'll be harder to cut. So after you cut your pattern out, get a spray glue. I just found this at Michael's Crafts, but they had a whole bunch of different varieties. I liked this because when you spray it, it's not clear. It comes up like an Elmer's glue white, so you could really see where you're spraying. And what I do is I focus on spraying the edge of the fabric, so that way when this gets glued down, it's not going to fray because it's not the felt. Okay, so I took this project outside to spray because it's glue, so you don't want to spray it inside the house where you're going to get anything sticky. The direction says to shake it really well before you get started. And then all I do is line up my fabric with my mat, and I just bend down the top and then spray. And like I said, I sprayed the edge really good to make sure that's secure, and then just fill in spray that, and then just put the fabric up, spread it out with your hand, and then flip it, and then roll your fabric down to where you stopped gluing, and do that for the rest of it. The glue, I've done probably 12 mats, and I still am using the same bottle, so the glue does go really far. And then you just spread it out. And it's as simple as that. And then you'll see here the edge. If you have anything like that, just take your scissors and trim that off. But then you have a placemat that won't stick to your table.